If you're charging under $3,000 for your wedding photography or videography, you need to hear this. Not because you're bad, not because your work isn't good, and not because there's something wrong with starting there, but because if you stay under $3,000 for too long, you can accidentally trap yourself in a business model that becomes very difficult to escape. And most photographers and videographers never do. If we haven't met before, my name's Aidin, and I help wedding photographers and filmmakers build businesses that actually scale through better offers, better sales systems, better lead generation, and better positioning. I've also been a wedding videographer for over a decade, having shot my first wedding in 2015, and I've generated multiple six figures with my wedding filmmaking brands. And what I've seen over and over again in this industry is that the problem is structure. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why staying under $3,000 for too long is dangerous, what it usually says about the way your business is currently built, and what you need to fix if you want to move into higher priced, higher margin versions of your business. So here's the plan. First, I'm going to explain why the under $3,000 tier is such a difficult place to stay long term. Then, I'm going to break down the three structural problems that usually keep photographers and videographers stuck there. After that, I'll walk you through how to move past that threshold the right way without making a random emotional leap that your business can't support. So, if you know your work is better than what you're charging, and you're tired of feeling like you're working way too hard for way too little margin, this is the video for you. So first, let's get something straight. This isn't about the number itself. 3 grand isn't some magic number where suddenly you become talented, premium, or legitimate. This is about what that pricing level usually represents in the market. Because when I say under 3,000, I'm not talking about your worth as a creative. I'm talking about the kind of business model that usually comes with that pricing. And under $3,000 usually means one of three things. Your positioning's broad, your sales process is weak, or your confidence is lacking. And sometimes it's all three. And that's the real issue. The number is just the symptom, and if you don't fix the structure behind the number, you can stay stuck there for years while telling yourself, oh, I just need a few more weddings, or I just need better leads, or I just need to get a little more experienced. But the truth is, experience alone doesn't move most photographers or videographers out of that pricing tier. Plenty of talented wedding creatives stay underpriced for way too long, and that's because the business around the work never evolved. So I want you to stop thinking about this as a pricing issue. It's a model issue. It's a positioning issue. It's a sales issue. It's a business design issue. And once you see that clearly, it becomes a lot easier to fix. So let's talk about the market itself, because when you're charging under $3,000, you're usually competing in the most crowded, most chaotic, most price sensitive tier of the wedding market. This is where new photographers come in, part-time shooters, weekend warriors, and budget-focused couples are comparing everyone side by side. Again, that doesn't mean that you can't make money there. You can, but it does mean that you're operating in the hardest environment to create margin. Because in that tier, couples are often shopping based on comparison, not trust, not certainty, not confidence, just comparing. They're asking, what do I get? How many hours? How many photos? Do you include an album? Can you stay an extra hour? Can you match this other package? And what starts happening is your work gets reduced to line items, coverage, deliverables, hours, and extras. And once that happens, it becomes very difficult to command a premium because you're no longer being evaluated as a category of one. You're just being evaluated as a list of features. And lists of features are easy to compare, easy to negotiate, easy to downgrade. And that's why this tier becomes so heavy, not just financially, but emotionally as well. Because you're working with buyers who are more likely to question, compare, negotiate, hesitate, and overanalyze. Again, these aren't bad people. That's important. Budget conscious couples are not bad clients, but they are usually lower margin clients. And when your entire business is built around lower margin clients, everything starts to feel just a little heavier. You need more volume, you have less room for error, and every booking matters more than it should. And that's when the business starts to feel stressful instead of scalable. So let's do some math because this is where the problem becomes unavoidable. If you charge $2,500 a wedding, how many weddings do you need to hit $100K in revenue? 40 weddings. 40 weddings. That's like every weekend. It's a ridiculous amount of volume for most photographers and videographers if you actually want a healthy business and a normal life. And remember, that's revenue, that's not profit. That's before your taxes, travel, gear, software, outsourcing, second shooters, insurance, advertising, education, office expenses, and your own time. So even if you technically hit six figures in revenue at 2,500 a wedding, you're likely working a ton and keeping way less than you think. So layer in the real world, seasonality, cancellations, weather, personal emergencies, burnout, getting sick during peak season, needing a weekend off. If you need 40 weddings to make the numbers work, you have almost no room for life, no margin for error, no margin for recovery, no margin for strategic time off, no margin for thinking. And that's what people miss. Low pricing doesn't just affect your income, it affects your margin for your life. And margin is everything. It creates flexibility, creates peace, lets you make better decisions, lets you say no, lets you raise your standards. And underpriced businesses usually don't have margin. They just have motion, a lot of motion, but not enough margin. So if we go one layer deeper, when you stay under 3,000 for too long, you don't just make less money, but you start attracting a certain kind of buyer. And again, I want to be careful here. This is not about insulting people with smaller budgets. This is about understanding how pricing shapes your client pool. Because price sensitive buyers tend to ask more questions, they tend to compare more vendors, negotiate more, hesitate longer, need more reassurance, request more exceptions, and often have less clarity in their decision making. That doesn't mean they're difficult people, it doesn't mean they're buying differently. It means that they're just struggling a little bit in that process. So when your business is filled with buyers who require more energy while paying lower margins, your business starts to feel heavier and heavier over time. And this is where you start saying things like, I'm so busy, but I still feel broke, or I have a full calendar, but I'm exhausted, or like, I'm booking weddings, but it still doesn't feel like enough. I'm working all the time, but I'm not getting ahead. That's because your business is full of activity but low on leverage. And one of the biggest ways leverage improves is through price and positioning. When your positioning gets stronger, your price goes up. And when your price goes up, you need fewer bookings. And when you need fewer bookings, your margin increases. When margin increases, the business gets lighter. That's the chain reaction. So yes, pricing matters, but pricing only works when it's supported by the structure underneath it. So what are sub 3K photographers and videographers usually missing structurally? There are three big things. First is clear positioning. So if your brand sounds like it's for everyone, you'll be priced like everyone. This is one of the biggest traps in the wedding industry. Your website just says something vague like capturing love stories, telling your story, creating timeless memories, documenting your special day. And the problem isn't that those phrases are offensive. The problem is that they're invisible. They don't separate you. They don't create a category. They don't make someone think that's exactly who we need. So premium positioning is specific. It has edges. It has a point of view. It sounds more like for planner-led luxury weddings, or for couples who hate being posed, or for stylish city weddings with an editorial feel, for couples who want more direction and confidence in front of the camera. That kind of language creates separation, and separation supports price, because once the right client sees themselves in your messaging, they stop comparing you to everybody else the same way. Specificity makes you more expensive because it makes you more relevant. Second is a controlled sales process. The second thing usually missing in a lot of photographers and videographers business, because a lot of you are still hoping that your consults just turn into bookings. The call feels casual, the structure is loose, the energy is apologetic, the process is passive. You know, people say things like, here are my packages, let me know what you think, or what's your budget, I can customize anything, or totally no pressure. I get it. Being kind is good. Being low pressure is good, but being passive is really expensive, and high ticket sales require leadership. Not pressure, but leadership. That means you ask good questions, you diagnose what matters to the couple, you guide the conversation, you recommend the right fit, you create confidence. The difference between a $2,500 booking and a $4,500 booking isn't the quality of art, It's the quality of your sales process. So if your consults feel like unstructured chats, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Third is outcome based packaging. Most under 3K photographers and videographers package their services transactionally. They sell hours, they sell deliverables, they sell what's included. 8 hours of coverage, 600 edited images, an online gallery, a second shooter. Again, those things matter, but they shouldn't be the main value story because those are just features. Premium photographers and videographers sell outcomes, they sell confidence, they sell ease, they sell a guided experience, they sell certainty, they sell peace of mind, they sell a smoother wedding day. They sell trust that the memories will be handled well. This is why the same photographer can look like a $2,500 photographer in one brand and a $5,000 photographer in another, because one is selling coverage and the other is selling certainty. You move past the $3,000 mark when you stop selling time and start selling the result of working with you. So, how do you move out of this tier the right way? Not emotionally, not randomly, not by waking up one day and deciding you're a luxury wedding photographer. You do it structurally. So, step one, raise in increments. Don't just jump from $2,500 to $6,000 overnight unless your business already supports that move. That's usually just making an emotional decision, and that's not something we like to do. Instead, I want you to try to move in controlled increments. So go from like 2,500 to 32 to 32 to 34 to 4,000 to 5,000. Each increase forces you to improve something, whether it's your positioning, your presentation, your confidence, your process. That's what you want. You want your price increases to force your business to mature. Step two, reduce your volume as you raise your price. This is important because if you raise your prices but still take every inquiry, you're going to stay in a mode of scarcity. And scarcity is what kills premium positioning. Premium businesses are selective. They're not rude, they're not inaccessible, but they are selective. As your pricing rises, your standards should rise too. That means saying no to inquiries that aren't aligned. It means not trying to make every lead work. It means protecting the brand that you're building. Because if you keep operating like you need every booking, your sales energy will still feel desperate even after your pricing changes. And clients, they'll feel that. So step three, change your language. This is one of the fastest wins. So you want to change how you speak. Stop saying packages starting at. Instead, say something like most couples invest around. Stop asking what your client's budget is. Instead, just say something like, based on what you told me, here's what I'd recommend. You just want to start making small language shifts because it creates a big shift in perception, and perception influences price tolerance. Step four, you want to rebuild your presentation because your pricing isn't some separate form of presentation. If your website feels generic, your pricing guide feels generic, and your consult process feels generic, your price is going to feel high much faster. But when everything feels intentional, polished, clear, and calm, the price feels much more justified. You don't need a huge rebrand, but you do need alignment. Your messaging, visuals, process, and pricing need to feel like they belong to the same business. But I guess let's get honest. For most photographers and videographers under 3,000, the real issue isn't their portfolio, it's fear. Fear of losing inquiries, fear of being told no, fear that higher paying clients won't choose you. Fear that if you raise your prices, the bookings will stop. Fear that you're not ready yet. And I get that. But here's what happens when you let fear run your pricing. You attract more volume, you increase stress, you decrease margin, you reinforce the identity of being affordable, and identities get sticky. If you spend years reinforcing the idea that you're the affordable option, it becomes much harder to replace and reposition later. It's not impossible, but it does become much harder. And that's why you don't move past 3K by waiting. You move past it by redesigning your structure, have clear positioning, controlled sales, outcome-based packaging, incremental price increases, selective client acceptance, and that's how the shift happens. It's not by hoping, it's not by waiting to feel ready, it's by rebuilding the machine. So let me leave you with this. If you're under $3,000 right now, it's not a talent problem. It's usually a structure problem, and structure can be fixed. So that should be good news because it means that you don't need to become a different artist. You just need to become a stronger operator. You need a more specific position, a stronger sales process, a better way of packaging your value, and the confidence to stop playing in a tier that makes your business heavier than it needs to be. Crossing $3,000 isn't about ego, it's about margin. And margin creates freedom. Freedom to take fewer weddings, freedom to work with better fit couples, freedom to stop living in scarcity, freedom to build a business that actually feels sustainable. So, if you want help installing the full system that moves photographers and videographers from underpriced and overworked to positioned and profitable, go to howtosellweddings.com and watch the training. Because this isn't just about charging more, it's about building a business model that finally works. If you found this video helpful, drop it a like and subscribe to the channel. If you like all things wedding business related, that's the place for you. So I'll see you in the next one.